we as an editors and directors, when we're sitting, so we can recognize every single frame, and we know what is that camera, who's used that, what is the light in the background. So we know from the light shade, of course, at least. So like, oh, in the industry, we gotta know because we know this is fake. It seems real for you, but for us, it's fake because there is something wrong. There is no soul inside that video. You know what I mean? So that's, yes, we gotta know.
Yeah. Audience knows. I'm sure you guys know as well. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So we know that's not real because we watch a lot of footage. So we know the difference. Like we see from ARRI camera to Red to cell phone to Panasonic cameras. Like so, we know this is not real. So yes, we know. Until I don't know later.
If you train your eye
Yes.
to see the real thing,
Yeah.
you will figure out if this is fake or not. Yes.
So.
By the way, that's one of the things. For example, I try to teach my students
Yeah.
to train their eyes
Yeah.
to see when you see the frame, just look what do you see inside, the feelings, the emotions, everything. Like training your eyes.
Yeah. Going on with everything that you guys have mentioned before, like you can always learn from other editors, right? As you were saying.
Always.
Do you ever meet, like, especially if you have students and maybe like there's like a new kid on the set or something, right? Have you ever noticed that the new generation picks up things like that they teach you? Maybe because even like my little brother knows like how to use my phone more than I do, right? So have you seen a new sort of style of like editing or something that's like new that you're like, oh my gosh, my student like is doing this,
Yes, I noticed that, especially when it comes to storytelling. For example, I give them the same exercise, right? And you can see 20 students, they will tell you different stories. Same footage, same script and everything, but everyone, they had their own way of storytelling. And it's interesting, some of them was like, I never thought about this way. It's interesting. Yes.
Wow, okay. Anything else with your students you get surprised?
Well, yeah, in some ways, it's like you're saying, the surprising part is that, and this is why filmmaking is, comes from your soul, is the fact that some of them will look remarkably the same. Like you're like, wow, you guys didn't look at each other's stuff? And sometimes they'll take a completely different tack, and you're like, wow, that was really interesting to think of it that way. So that's the fun part about filmmaking, and that's where I still think that it's going to continue to be a collaborative process. 99.9% of good filmmaking is going to be a collaborative process and not somebody alone doing it on their computer.
Well, answering your question 3 years ago, yes. This generation, they think always they have an answer in their iPhone or the AI, they got the answers. They don't participate more like before. Like they are, I see it this way. What do you think if I just move it to this way? 3 years, or let's be precise, 2 years ago, they stop participate because they think they know and they have the answers and they don't want to argue and wasting their time with you because you're a mentor for him. So yeah, so this is now the generation problem. So they are learning from the surface, not from the deep. They just got the answer.
They got ChatGPT.
Yes, I always get the question like, oh, I have a project to do to my whatever homework in the university. Can you send me your film? I can use it. So they know that the questions change because everything is ready. So don't feel like shame or irritated to ask you like, do you have something ready? You can use it because they have these answers. So it's a problem coming from the generation. I think this gap for the generation, they're gonna face when they have a deep problem, they don't know how to handle it because we have AI always give them the end result. How it works, they don't know. That's the problem now.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when you're watching, say, like a film or when you're grading your students, work when they're finished, what do you grade based on? I know there's obvious things like continuity, like that's kind of indisputable kind of, but in terms of like style and stuff like that, like how do you rate that on your end as professors or people that are professional in and
I'm
this.
easy grader.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I think the students are easier. Right now, I'm going through the, for the Academy, student films. And grading those where you have to put, you know, you're like, huh, what, on a scale from 1 to 20, what is it? So, you know, I don't know, grading people's ability as filmmakers is really, really hard, I have to say.
Yeah. Especially like editing, like what are you looking for? It could be so
Exactly, you know, I mean, it's a really hard one to judge,
different. Yeah.
you know.
I look for three things. The simplicity of the story, emotions, and pacing, like rhythm. Those three things are the most important thing.
Do you ever see like things, especially when they're new filmmakers, they're over editing, like, and over complicating their stories then a lot?
Over editing, I would say too much cuts.
Yeah, too many cuts.
Yeah. Meaning, for example, you can tell with 2 cuts now you have like 6 cuts. I go like, why you have 6 cuts?
Like,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
like
yeah,
something
yeah,
that they
yeah.
got, like, a cut
That
of,
that
like,
quite often happens when I'm teaching my assistants how to
Yeah, but
edit.
people-
Is they just put extra edits
Yeah,
in.
but
I'm
we-
like,
we-
why do you have an extra edit here?
We've been
Like,
in this situation, guys. Like we were like when we start the edit,
Yeah.
we were like energetic.
Yeah.
So we use that like
Yeah.
fast cut and stuff. Then
Yeah.
someone mentor come to us. They said, "Hey, relax.
Relax.
We need to see this frame. You don't cut it until being 3 seconds at least.
Yeah.
This is something in emotion." Then we get this up. So yes, we all start that like
Yeah.
fast cut and stuff.
Giving people whiplash.
Yeah,
with
and stuff. And then we learn like, okay, I remember a story that I trying to do some dissolve, that time dissolve to black. It was the famous transition when it's come up to the non-linear edit. So I was doing it like for 15 frame. And a cinema editor came to me like, this is not acceptable. I said, what is it? He said, you should put this 225 frame. That was because 25 frame in the Middle East. So people can understand what's going on. So imagine that days, the 15 frame, you want to have 200 frames to relax the image, and then audience feeling relaxed.
Yeah.
At that time, when I was like 16 years old, I know someone he's saying
The
like,
attention
what are
span
you
was
talking
not
about?
there.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Just let's go dissolve, you know? So that's kind of when we start fast cut that days.
yeah. Also, young editors feel like they have to use all the footage. Like the
Yeah.
director shot
Yeah.
that camera angle. We have to use it. I'm like, no, you don't actually. You know.
Or it's like meeting the word count. You have to meet like the time. Like, it has to be
Exactly.
10 minutes. Oh, you're just gonna have to use.
Yeah.
Not
everything.
easy to
We have to use everything that was shot. You
Yeah.
know?
You know, for that, I tell them, you know, big studios, they spend millions of dollars on a scene and they don't use it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Or
yeah,
actors.
why you should use that?
Yeah. Or they cut my part. Like. You know, that happens.
I'm sorry about that.
It wasn't the director. It was the editor.
And
Yes.
one thing also, I want to mention about the young editors. Once they shoot something, they want to edit right away. They forget that before editing, there's something called the assistant editor's job. They need to organize.
Okay.
They need to rename and label everything. For example, like you said, the syncing. They need to do everything. No, once they shoot it, they want to start editing. They need to learn the process of the editing.
That's
the
the
whole thing.
solution.
They don't know it.
Okay.
Yes.
I see. Yeah.
Yep.
Can you each give me something that when you get like that makes you really tick as an editor, and then something that you're like chef's kisses? I love when I get this. Like, thank you. Like when you're getting your footage back. Anything that comes to mind?
Your footage back. So what?
So
do you
like
think?
something that makes you like you're like, oh, why did you give me this? This is not going to be good. Like we talked about continuity things maybe that like on set. Like maybe sound was not good in the first place. Like you know.
Oh, so I received the film. They want to do the opening scene that kids are playing in the park. And I talked to the DP. I said, okay, but we don't have this B-roll. I keep asking for this. Oh, really? I don't have it.
Yeah.
So they ask stuff in their brain, and they don't think they did it.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah. So like, okay, so how can I do it? Can you go film it? It's just a B-roll. It's not related to the acting. Yeah. I said, no, you know what? Just remove it. So it's kill you. It's just like waiting for answer. You want to work, and everything is ready, and something just shut it down. And the editor move is very important.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah.
Like really important. It could be shut down you for 3 days. You don't want to touch it.
Yeah.
It's a relationship. The edit is a relationship. If you don't feel to want to do it, it's gonna reflect. You're gonna see it in the edit. The edit is not really relaxed. It's anything, you know.
Okay.
In my opinion, I think it's a mindset. Every time when I get a project, for example, even if it's a bad project, the first thing I think is, okay, how can I make this work?
It's a challenge, right?
Yeah, how can I make this work? Because in my dictionary, I don't have the word where it says, oh, this is impossible. No, even if you had like the bad footages, right? The bad footage, you need to think in a way that it'll make sense and make it work. Again, this is kind of mindset that I think every editor should kind of have that. Yes.
Everything happening in the post.
Everything's happening.
Yeah,
like,
so
with
it's
those.
gonna happen no matter what.
Yeah. What about like when you guys get like a project and then you get it, you're like, do you ever think like the back of your mind, this could have been a short, or this should have been a feature?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you think like this could have been, you know, that happens.
Yes. And the thing is, yeah, once you, for example, edit and finish that, for example, you can give some suggestions to the director or to the writer. You can say, oh, you know what, if this is a short, maybe you can use it as a promo, right? And then you can kind of sell the idea and then make it a feature. Yeah, just give them some
Promoters.
suggestions. Yes, yeah.
Do you have like a difference in when you're filming and editing a like feature versus a TV show? Do you find like there's more like artistry when it comes to being like a feature where you're being more narrative there, or is it like the time crunch of episode to episode?
Well, the biggest difference is that if you're working on a television show, particularly one that's in the second or third season, you know what the show is supposed to look like, and you know what the actors are supposed to act like, and you know, shows have their own rhythm for editing and their own, you know, music that your people are used to, and the way you use close-ups and when the music comes in and all sorts of things. So when you're an editor and you're coming in to a show that's already established all of those, you have to follow the rules. You can't be like going on Law and Order and go, you know what, I'm gonna put some hip hop music and put jump cuts through the whole thing. So whereas with a movie or a pilot or a documentary where you're making something from scratch essentially, you are able to establish the rules yourself. And sometimes those rules will completely change. Like you're on a pilot and you're like, oh my God, it all moves too slow. Let's try putting, rhythmic, beats underneath and put jump cuts everywhere or something like that. Or can we do it from this character's perspective rather than this character's perspective? So that's the fun part about the ones we get to create from scratch compared to the ones where we are brought on to something that has already established its editorial style.
Of course, the key here is the listening for the owner of the shows or the film, the director. The much that you listen and understand what you want, you really be close to what you want. Because sometimes they have the idea, but they want to see it. How? They don't know. So they give this for 3 different people, and they work on it, and whatever, like Big Sharp for his like a big line, the thing in his, and he go with maybe this editor because he did it in this way, but he want this vision. So it's kind of specifically the scratch one is really they don't know in the beginning. They have something, but they need to bring it outside. Yeah.
I think even as an audience member, like I do think you feel a shift when there's a different director or different editing on an episode in a TV show. That's definitely something that is very felt. I also wanted to ask you guys. So in terms of collaboration with technology, it's probably become easier, right? It's more instant and things like that. You guys do a lot of visual, but when it comes to also like sound and things like that, how does that process work with the people that I'm assuming you've worked with the same people over and over again on projects? What does that look like? You do it first, you send it to them, they send it back, or you in the room together? Like, what is your experience there?
You know, it still kind of depends a little bit on the project, some. On features, there is definitely a bit more back and forth where I'm sending them cuts and they're doing the sound effects and they're sending it back, and I might give them notes and stuff. With television, We do a pretty good job these days. We have to, because people are so used to seeing finished products. Before, you could just show them, like, you know, the scene with maybe some music underneath, and they'd be like, oh, I get it. Now it's like you have to have all of the sound effects in and backgrounds and all sorts of stuff. So we really build it out. But then when it goes to in television, you send it to them and they basically just take it over from there. And as an editor, I don't see it again until maybe I go to the mix, but not always. You know, sometimes I don't see it again until, you know, it's on Netflix or whatever. Or where on features, I really do sort of like watch it through the whole process.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I think it's, again, it depends on the project, the duration of the project. Personally, I would like to do everything. For example, just add sound effects, the music or cues, whatever. And then once I have everything, you know, once we have like a picture look, you know, then we can send it to the sound department, and they will do whatever they want. And the reason I want to do that because I want to feel it first, you know, with the music, cues, everything, with the sound effects, and I want the director and the producer, once they see it, I want them to hear it as well. And because once you see like the full thing, probably will have more options or more notes, because now you are understanding from all points, not only visually, but also through the sound and everything. Yeah.
Well, yes, we have, sometimes we put reference to the sound design engineer or the music we want, but I believe the sound engineer, he did a good, better job from our work, because sometimes he feel like this curtain sound is gonna be this way for her, different than for a comedy.
Yeah.
And so he have all these, and he's saving us time to find the right one if we know the right one.
Yeah.
So so we send it, and we see it, and we send the notes, and of course the director, of course you have to approve it, and all this process is a loop, so we work together. As I mentioned in the beginning, this is the only job is called teamwork.
Teamwork.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
I did want to ask you, my following question is about, you know, when you're working on set, director gets to talk to everyone mostly, right? But you as editors, do you find yourself like only, because you talk to the director, you talk to other collaborators in post, but how much do you actually get to collaborate when it comes to the amount of people? Is it like usually pretty small, I would assume?
Well, the first week of work, you don't talk to anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you have to see the footage, organize it, all these stuff. Then we learned later for the color grade, we send that have to be approved by the DO, because you know his lighting, you know what he put there, so he kind of, you know what, I have more red in that, so you can just pull it a little bit up. So that's the part that we call with the DP. But the DP always want his frame staying longer, because he work on it. So like we cut it like in 3 seconds. Said no, you know what? Just make it 4 seconds because
work
he
so hard on
he,
it,
yes,
yeah.
you know what I mean? And the director sometimes he agree with the DP, but still the edit room is like it look not good.
Yeah.
Let's make it 3.5.
What's
No,
the
it's not
reason
gonna
for the
work.
extra 4
Yes,
seconds?
Yeah.
There's like
Sounds
okay, you know what? Let's make it 3.5. That it's not gonna work
Yeah.
because so these calibrations actually sometimes it's make the process slower. So we prefer like in this week we at least send him the director cut,
Okay.
make him feel happy that we understand his vision, then we have control later on that.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you guys had any sort of, I wonder if you've ever gotten a note from a director that's like funny, or like he asked you to, he's like, I want this more, this feeling, or this, like, where he doesn't know technically what he's saying,
Yeah.
but he's like,
I actually love that note.
Yes.
yeah.
My favorite notes are the ones that are like, can you make it more anxious?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
you know, much more general notes, you know, than specific. We all, I'm sure, hate,
Yes.
take 2 frames off the head of this, add 3 frames to the
He just
tail
makes
of
the
that.
face like.
It's just, you know, you know, yes, I need those sometimes, but in general, it's more sort of like storytelling, you know, notes are the ones that we appreciate the most, you know?
The one note I love is when they say, you saved my movie.
Yeah.
The CPR one.
Yeah.
It's better than
yeah.
it's better, yeah.
Yeah, you save money. Yeah,
That's
I
amazing.
got that. I got that a couple of times.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
The notes that I like and dislike is after you explain your what you think about this cut or this scene or whatever, and he said, you know something, you're right, but missing something. Do you know what is it? I said, I was talking for 10 minutes. What is the problem here? And he said, what do you think? I said, no, let me just show it to other people. And it takes 3 weeks to answer it.
Yeah.
Sometimes good notes, good feedbacks come, sometimes the same. So this thing, as I said, is a relationship for them. Like if you stop, as you said from the beginning, you have to have everything, you're gonna forget what you're doing. The journey is gonna be like sleepy. You don't understand where's the high, where's the slow, where's the process. So we kind of don't like these long-term
Yeah.
notes, take time.
Yeah. You forget it by the time you get to that grade.
Like you have to watch again. They think just like you change this. No. All the editors, any notes coming, you have to see the whole thing from the beginning. And they think, no, this is good here.
Oh yeah, I have one person that always had to watch the whole. We changed one thing in the scene, and they have to watch the whole scene. Then we watch the whole
Yes.
scene. I'm like, what is going on here?
So that's the thing.
Yes. Okay. So, have you had anything? I know we talked about AI, how it makes things a little bit more expedient. But have you had anything in your careers that you're like, thank goodness after this date when we had this became so much easier? Anything that comes to mind?
The same.
The sync?
Lot of
Same.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, autosync is really helpful. Things
That's
like that.
really saved us days.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of that, for example, a couple of months ago, I'm very obsessed when it comes to organization. I want to see everything organized. Even my timeline, I try to kind of separate them, and each track is like different color. I'm so obsessed. So I was trying to find a way, how can we save time and use the AI so it'll organize everything. For example, you know, the folders, the bins and everything, right? And label everything. So thankfully there is this app, have you guys heard of Menace or something? It's an AI agent. So I don't know coding. So I tried to kind of build an app and kind of utilize it through Avid, where it'll do everything, the whole organization thing. It created it. The only thing I have to do is I have to kind of get in touch with Avid and try to use it inside Avid. But exactly, but the thing is, just imagine how much time you can save just organizing everything.
Yeah.
But also, that's a good thing. But the other side of it is the other side of it is instead of AI doing it for you, if you do it for yourself, you will know each folder, like and each bin and what files are in each bin. It's like exactly,
Yeah.
like just like we were talking about the AI. If you draw on the canvas, if AI will do it for you, you're not gonna feel it. But if you do it by yourself, you're gonna feel it. That's the only thing, for example.
Yeah, I mean, there is a little bit of that with like the data management, where if they
Yes.
simplify it too much, no one's ever going to look at it except for like me.
Yeah.
So like like with my dailies, in order to organize them, my assistant, you know, they're shooting AV camera, she groups it, and then she puts a mark at action and a mark at any time they do a reset. So when she's watching it, even if she's watching it in double time, she has to watch the whole thing. That is definitely something that AI could be trained to do pretty quickly, you know, where it's like, put a mark every time they say action and every time they just, you know,
Yes.
decipher the words and da-da-da, oh, you know, they've repeated the line several times, whatever. But, you know, and you go, oh, that'll be great, it'll free up my assistant to do sound work or something like that. But then they're becoming farther and farther away from the filmmaking process of like
Exactly.
looking at the footage.
Yes.
So when I say, there was a close-up of so-and-so, they could go, I don't know, I've never seen the footage.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so, you know, a lot of it's gonna be very helpful, but hopefully we don't get so far away that we are not, you know, taking the time to learn everything about the footage that they spent all this time filming.
Yeah.
And they
You know?
always try to make the metadata for them, but
Yeah.
we need it for us. Like
Yeah.
they put metadata for each file, but they don't fill it.
Okay.
So this is helpful for them on the set, and they're gonna know exactly which the right take and stuff. But it's also helpful for the post because we're gonna open the metadata, and we see what's exactly what is the marks, what is the stuff. So we go to the right take, saving their time, but they don't do it
It's like
at all.
filmmaking, housekeeping kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
We're coming sort of towards the end. We still have a couple minutes, but usually I ask, like, you have any advice for younger, editors and stuff. But we touched upon a lot of that. I wonder if you have anything that would make an editor's life easier, like maybe something that actors can do or directors can do on set, so by the time you get to your job, it's always much more clear.
For the actor, the advice, whatever you feel you're wrong, don't stop. Like finish the take, because sometimes we feel this is the right take.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
he's doing it and
yeah.
we feel it, and so no, I want to do it again. This is too much to happen when then retake in the middle of his dialogue. So
Yeah.
no, we need it. Don't worry about it. So
Well, that's amazing, actually.
finish it,
Yeah.
because this is help us. Maybe we take this take, you don't see yourself.
Yeah.
For the edits, make their life easier, understand the compressor codes for each file. So when you understand this file, you can make it as a proxy, you can work on a small machine. That's gonna make your life easier.
Anything for you guys as well?
I would say, for editors, life choices, network, and edit. The only person who's gonna teach you editing is yourself. For example, me as a mentor, as an educator, I can show you the techniques and stuff, but it doesn't mean that you will become the best editor. You have to edit, because there's a saying which says, repetition is the mother of all skills, right? So repeat, just do it, keep doing it. Yes, and then yes, networking is very important.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree with that both for acting and editing. It's like if you want to be an editor, you should be editing and assistant editing lots of stuff and not be waiting for it to come to you. The young editors have an advantage that we did not have, which is, especially me, like when I was shooting on film originally, like to make a short film at San Francisco State cost $10,000 to make like a 5-minute film. And now you can make it on your iPhone and it looks 1,000 times better than anything that I was able to film on my Arri. So you have really no excuse for not making like a short film every few weeks or something like that if you're a director or an actor or an editor these days. I would say that's the main thing. I would say as a actor, I think if you learn to edit a little bit, you would learn a lot about acting.
I agree.
There is so much where I'm sitting there watching the takes and I'm like, the actor knows her lines but doesn't necessarily know the story of the scene. And it's definitely not acting so much in between their lines. Like they don't know all of the backstory that should be happening, all of the subtext that should be happening with reactions, during the scene. I'm just tilt your head to the side, look mad, come on, look mad, come on, look mad, or whatever, so it's important to have like a much broader skill set in general, in filmmaking than you ever thought you should, where you thought that, if you're an actor, you only needed to know how to act. It's like you need to know what grips do and what editors do and what directors do and what sound people do, in order to help them, make you a good actor, honestly.
Yeah.
Because you can see yourself before the cutting and after the cutting, completely different feeling, different muscles, so that's really helpful.
Yeah. Because everyone's very surprised when it comes to that,
Like,
the
"Is that me?"
premiere. You're like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's really great. It's a great note to sort of finish off on, because it is.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. You're an actress, right?
Yes.
Do you
yes.
like watching yourself after performance?
I don't like watching myself. Yeah.
Please do.
Yeah.
Please do.
I have to, especially being you, right? Yeah.
Please do.
Yeah, that was all amazing advice for talent,
Yeah.
actually. Thank you so much. I do want to ask you what you guys have going on. I know you have been in the business for a good amount of time now. So what are you working on currently?
Well, most projects we can't talk about.
Yes. NDAs, sorry guys.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I can
What's
tell you,
an
I'm working on
IMDb?
I'm working on a. It's not like a secretive movie.
Yes.
Okay.
A movie for Universal called Italiana that will come out
Okay.
sometime next year.
That's awesome.
It's a romantic comedy essentially.
Yeah.
There's no secrets to it. It's a cute movie.
Okay.
I'm working on 2 shorts right now. It's all, we already have a picture lock.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
I'm working on my project that I can't talk about.
Okay.
It's a feature film
Okay.
about the AR, not the AI.
Okay.
Yeah, and the reality and the AR. Like so like it's 5 rooms, different experience, like family, 5 girls, 5 boys, 5 different people, and they have 15 minutes to discover something, and at the end they will find out this is not real. So it's kind of try to tell people the reality is like really don't know this is real or not. So try to explain this to the audience.
Amazing. So are you editing on all these projects and then
No, that's mine.
you're
Like,
directing this
directing
one?
it,
Okay.
yeah.
And then your shorts were editing as well, and then you were editing.
Yes.
That's amazing. Okay. I'm gonna open it up to the audience because this was so interesting. This was actually, I didn't know any of this. This is okay. Does anyone have any questions? Like,
What do you, it sounds like you all do Avid, so does everyone do Avid here?
I work in Premiere also.
You do? Okay,
Yeah.
well, my next question was, what's the program you like and what's the program you can't stand?
Me?
Yeah, all of
Oh.
you, yeah,
I started with Adobe Premiere.
yeah.
I use Final Cut, and then I switched to Avid because, to be honest, by the way, this is a true story. 2004, I paid $3,000 for my Avid.
Yeah.
Now it's free.
Yep, yep.
Yes, and yes, today's students, they're really very lucky. But when it comes to narrative, I use Avid. But for example, for different projects, if it's kind of quickie thing, I use Adobe Premiere. Especially if there's any like After Effects involved.
Right.
Yes, I use Adobe Premiere. For coloring, I use DaVinci.
Good.
Yes.
So no one edits in DaVinci then?
No, I do.
You do edit in DaVinci, okay.
Yeah, I started DaVinci was just 2 tabs.
Yeah.
The coloring and the deliver page.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's really the software doesn't matter. For you, if
Yeah.
you understand the basic edit, if you want, all they have the basic edits tools. The advanced, we always look for like YouTube, asking, searching to find a solution, and the solution grab us to the software more. Like the first automatic sync start was in DaVinci. Then Premiere bring it back, so we're back to the Premiere. So it's really the software is just a tool, like the AI for you.
Right.
If you know the basic, you can edit with your phone. Like you don't really need an advanced software unless the client needs. Like the client want a very good color grading software. So far, affordable is DaVinci.
Yeah.
Premiere trying to do some basic lot. You have to film a certain way, so you can just put this lot and fix slightly the stuff. But DaVinci now very like price friendly and all these stuff. So we jump, like we don't stuck with
You don't stick
the
with
software.
one.
You really don't have to. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, true story. My first day at school, I told student, can you guys evaluate your editing? I mean, how do you see yourself as an editor? So 0 from 10, 10 being great. Some of them said 7, 8, 9, 4, 3. I said, okay, fine. I have 16 mil reel in my bag, so I took out that. I said, okay, I have this footage. Can you guys edit for me? And everybody like, oh, what is this? Actually, 2 of them said that. Ancient technology. They said, well, we can't edit on this. I said, I thought you guys were editors. So, editors, it's a mindset. It's not the tool. You utilize the tool to edit.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, the only thing that I do recommend is that you use each of the tools differently. You learn how that tool will work. There used to be
Yes.
like this whole trend when Final Cut started becoming,
Yeah.
people used it professionally. There was even books like Final Cut for Avid editors, where you could basically run your Final Cut like an Avid, and it was a horrible Avid. You know, honestly, it doesn't do trim at all, and even Premiere basically doesn't do trim nearly the same way as Avid. So, I actually a few years ago, really started being like, okay, when I cut on Premiere, I'm cutting like a Premiere editor. When I cut an Avid, I'm cutting like an Avid editor.
That's true.
You know, and so, and I do the same thing as you.
Yeah.
I do most of my TV shows and my features on Avid, and I do my projects at home on Premiere, and I have to be like, okay, cut, drag, cut, expand, pull, drag, which is like Premiere, and Avid is like, put them in a row,
Trim.
okay, trim,
Yes.
put the little dots here, trim, you know, and I've become a much better editor, especially on Premiere, once I was like, look, I can't make Premiere work like an Avid. So, I have not edited on DaVinci, but I'm assuming it's the same way. It's like, learn how that one works.
Yes.
And
DaVinci also, they have, so now two theory of edit in the market. The touch
Yeah.
and the normal way, like now it's called the normal way, actually was
Right.
yeah. The cut like using the mouse or using the numpad or whatever. So DaVinci have these both on the iPad, and they have page called Director Cut. Now they add a new page to the DaVinci called Director Cut. It's easier for the director while he watching the footage, he just remove whatever he wants. So again, people now, all these influencers, or they call vlogs people, vloggers, they edit by the phone. They're using some tools easy. So just, it's a cut and paste.
Yeah,
That's the
CapCut.
thing. Cut, yeah. So
Yeah.
it just like, the important is the story. It's have to be in your brain while you're editing.
Yes.
The end result, no matter what, using it like on the phone, the iPad, or different edit software.
But speaking of the trim tool, if you get used to the Avid trim tool,
Yeah,
you don't replace with anything else.
yeah, you gotta agree.
I have my set of shortcuts on Avid. I try to bring it inside Adobe and DaVinci. Again, different feelings. Different feelings. Yes.
Awesome. Okay, I probably have time for one more question. Yeah.
Okay, this is the big one. Have any of you experienced a catastrophic hard drive failure, and what did you do about it?
oh, those used to happen all the time. Not once, all the time. We're very lucky. They're so much more stable than they were 30 years ago. But Jesus,
Yes.
30 years ago, you know, every few months we'd have a catastrophic hard drive failure of some kind, and you'd be trying to pull stuff off as it just slowly stopped working.
That's
So-
normal.
Now the hard drive also have working in parallel backup,
Yeah.
like
Right.
in
Yeah.
the same time. And now they're planning to go, because that's what I said, study your files. Because if your file is enough to be carried on the cloud, you don't need a hard drive anymore. You
Right.
can just pull
Right.
it, edit. Now all big studios use these techniques.
But yeah.
On the cloud, they work on the proxy files, and the final result sent to the studio, download it, and work on the heavy files.
Right, I mean, it's gonna be all on the cloud soon enough, and in general, for the past 20 years, we've been using some sort of, you know, RAID system of some
Yes.
kind, so, you know, there are different names for them and stuff like that.
So
And-
effectively double redundant backups.
Yeah, it's too
Okay.
redundant,
Yeah.
sets of drives.
But then
And-
it's still lost time though, right? So-
It's a money.
Well, you know, and they're backing up the, you know, all of the media every few days to an external drive that is not attached to them in case there's, you know, some sort of catastrophic electrical thing that, which did happen at Fox, where
Yeah.
there was a transformer went out and blew all of the Avids and all the hard drives on X-Files. Like, everything was gone.
That's
So the
expensive.
truth is out there.
So, yeah.
It's not me.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
I don't want to end on that note, but okay.
No, the good part is it really doesn't happen that much
It doesn't
anymore.
happen
I haven't had
anymore?
one of those happen in a long time, so.
Okay,
yeah.
that's good. That's
Yeah.
the same. Like, okay, thank you guys. That concludes our technology and post-production, and thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next time, we have to take a group photo.
Let's
Okay.
take a group photo, everyone, let's
You
join.
have to take
Oh, another group
photo.
photo.
Okay, so let's
Oh,
do
we
it
get a group
quickly.
photo every single time.
Yeah, let's do it quickly.
I like it.
Move your part of the document.